Hello and welcome to The French. Well, actually just French, and your 15th lesson in your course of 12. I'm Herman Lumps in my pocket, and this week we're going to be looking at common radio introductions.
Bonjour et bienvenue à Radio Bride Gobelet. S'il vous plaît, assurez-vous que les tablettes sont dans leur position verticale.
Hello and welcome to Radio Flange Goblet, and please make sure your tray tables are in their upright position.
Votre fissure a été bel et bien la soie dentaire et vos joues polies à un éclat élevé.
Your cleft has been well and truly flossed, and your cheeks polished to a high shine.
Car il est maintenant temps pour les déchets préférés de tout le monde d'un beau petit déjeuner.
It's now time for everyone's favourite waste of a good breakfast.
Le après-film dîner.
The Hump Gerald Thigh moment.
Non, vous les déchets pathétiques de vêtements, vous avez tort et vous sentez comme l'anus d'un âne. J'ai dit le film après dîner.
No, you pathetic waste of clothes. You're wrong and you smell like a donkey's anus. I said the after-movie diner. That's not very nice. No, it's all right. She said she wouldn't press charges as long as I re-oiled the bed. Hi, hello, and welcome to this week's After Movie Diner. And it's very exciting because you'll never guess what's happened this week. Yes, we've got some mail. Someone wrote into us with the mail, and you know what that means. Cue the mail jingle. Here comes the postman. I wonder what he has for me. Is there something in his big brown sack? I wonder what could it be? Well, I hope the bills it lacks and instead brings me some listener feedback, or maybe, just maybe, a big bag of crack. Oh, here comes the postman. I wonder what he has for me. So, yes. What about this mail, I hear you cry? Well, the mail comes from a Mr. Matt Beckett. And he writes, Dear John, many thanks. Actually, he only put two manys. I added an extra many for emphasis. For a series of highly informative and engaging shows from the diner with your recent slate of interviews. I've been bowled over time and time again with all the preparation and hard work that must be behind every edition, and above all, with your wonderful choice of guests. And your latest somersault into the Rothrock pools, as you christen them, was a perfect case in point. Ms. Rothrock proved to be a warm and witty interviewee with an astounding degree of modesty about her substantial achievements as a trailblazer during the late 80s and early 90s, a golden age of action cinema on both sides of the globe. And in your later analysis, the doc was absolutely right. Do please check out No Retreat, No Surrender 2, Raging Thunder. Although, if one's researching and reading about the film, it may look as if Cynthia Rothrock has a conventional supporting role in the picture, it's simply not the case. Her character and performance is absolutely integral to the tone and, for want of a better word, the sheer attitude of the movie. Not wanting to give anything away, but what can be said is she carries off her role with chutzpah. She's joined by one of the great debuts in a starring role for martial arts cinema, the frankly elastic Lauren Avedon. His acrobatics are a marvel that bears many a repeat viewing, and his confident performance alongside the wonderfully grizzled Max Thayer mean that the verbal exchanges are as much fun as the fisticuffs. Of course, a great share of the credit must go to director Yuen Kwai, having helmed Righting Wrongs the previous year. Mr. Yen shows again and again that he is a maestro of action choreography, but he is also careful to build up character and, above all, atmosphere, and he makes the most of a well-crafted score. For example, taking time to do a waterfall climbing sequence might seem out of place in many a Formula martial arts pick, but here it remains a highlight. Each of these folks and many others contribute to one of the most pleasing and rare achievements in cinema, a sequel that far surpasses the original. It's a film that more than earned its place as a regular on the shelves of every VHS rental store in the UK during the late 80s. Many thanks for giving me an excuse, if any were needed, to pick out and celebrate the Rothrock tapes from my library again. And many thanks, John, for another in your Diner interview series. Well, we do hope to have more interviews coming up on the show, although currently the next few weeks I would imagine the shows are going to be fairly low-key and just sort of focus on maybe one or two films. as I've got some stuff going on with moving and various other things. That means that not that I don't want to keep doing the diner, but I'm just going to kind of scale it back just a little bit. So if you notice that over the next few shows, then I apologize, but we will be back to full fighting fitness, hopefully very soon. And also, thanks ever so much, Matt Beckett, for writing in. That's truly great. Loved all your singing of praises of No Retreat, No Surrender 2. I do own the No Retreat, No Surrender movies, so I really just do have to watch them. I just didn't want to throw a sequel into the Rothrock episode unless it was sort of China O'Brien 2 or Martial Law 2 or something like that, like one of her franchises rather than just a one-off thing. But I'm definitely going to check out No Retreat, No Surrender 2. So thanks ever so much for cluing me into it all, and obviously cluing in the listeners who just heard me rather badly read out your letter. I'm sorry I didn't do it more justice. But anyway, thanks ever so much for writing in. I do hope more people will write in. We do like audience feedback and audience participation. It really, really does help the episodes. I like it anyway. It's good for me. And I enjoy hearing what all you guys are up to and what you're thinking about. So. Commenting on the internet, they're commenting all over the internet and not all over my face. And yes, it's been a bumper crop of audience feedback this week because I asked on our Facebook page, considering that the subject matter of this week's show is 3 Days to Kill, the latest Luc Besson produced Paris set action movie. I asked favorite recent Luc Besson produced action film and how many have you seen? And then I listed 3 Days to Kill, The Family, Collision, Taken 2, Lockout, Colombiana, 22 Bullets, Coursier, District 13, Ultimatum, Transporter 3, and Taken. And we got lots of responses. Andrew Buckley said Taken. Doc Paul Croson, or Dr. Action, to his friends. He writes at least 7. He's seen Taken is the best and Lockout is also good fun. Besson rules. Robert C. Hoffman said, I really like Transporter 3. I think it's the best of the bunch. He said, I watched Subway recently and was like, that's the guy making all the action movies? Wow. And then he said something about, I said, yes, he's really kept the 10 to 30 mil smallish action film going the last few years. Very cool. He said, at the expense of his own career, still love La Femme Nikita. It is like a blueprint. That's what Robert Hoffman said. Jason Ritter said, I still love The Fifth Element. He also commented Taken and Transporter 3 as his 2 favorites. Michael Allen Fitzgerald says, I've seen Taken 1 and 2 and The Family, all of which I enjoyed. I've also seen Colombiana, which I was disappointed by. Liberty Street Geek says Taken, and Andreas Bengtson, who keeps writing to make me say his name over and over again, says, of the ones I have seen on the list, Lockout is perhaps my favorite. Die Hard in Space. Yes, please. Also, Guy Pearce does a terrific wisecracking hero. Sequel, please. District 13 was also a lot of fun. All right, well, thanks ever so much, guys, for commenting on that. And I do hope you enjoy this week's episode about 3 Days to Kill and about Besson in general. We also take a moment to talk about the passing of Harold Ramis towards the end of the show. So we do cover that sad bit of news this week as well. So after this little plea of support for the After Movie Diner, we will actually be going over to a diner live where we will be discussing 3 Days to Kill. Like the show? Well, you can find our complete podcast archive over at amdpodcast.blogspot.com or aftermoviediner.com. You can send us an email at aftermoviediner@gmail.com, tweet us at aftermoviediner, or follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/aftermoviediner. Or why not be a part of the show and leave us a voicemail over at speakpipe.com/aftermoviediner. You can also support the show a number of ways by spreading the word to family, friends and co-workers, by writing us a review over at iTunes or TalkShoe, by purchasing some excellent diner merchandise over at cafepress.com/aftermoviediner, by donating on our website, by advertising with our website, or maybe you're a regular Amazon user. If so, then before you make a purchase, go to amdpodcast.blogspot.com, aftermoviediner.blogspot.com, or aftermoviediner.com and click through the Amazon banner ads. It costs you nothing extra, but they throw us a few coins for the trouble. Or, like the movies we cover, then buy them over at our personal Amazon store, also on amdpodcast.blogspot.com. Really, thanks everybody for everything you continue to do, and please keep listening. All right. We are rolling.
We are rolling.
Yes, sir. And we are here in the Cozy Soup and Burger Diner on 8th Street, just off Broadway.
In the Village?
Is
this the first time we're recording in the diner in the Village?
No, we were at the Waverley Diner once after the IFC.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, can I get the San Diego omelette?
Yes.
With French fries?
Like a white toast or whole toast?
Whole wheat.
Can I get the ham and egg sandwich? But can I also get Swiss cheese with that, please? And that's it.
White toast, whole toast, casserole.
White toast is fine, thank you. Great. Thanks very much.
Thanks, man. Cheers. Thank you. So we're diner in the Village.
Yeah, we've just been to the Regal Cinema on 14th Street, which is nice. When I first moved here, the Regal wasn't. I think it's had a bit of a reno because I don't remember it being as good. Yeah. I remember Dawes and I being like, it's all right, but it's not up to snuff. But now they've had a real reno. There's lots of space in the theatre.
Yeah, we had lots of leg room and
nice cosy
really
chairs.
comfy chairs. We had excellent seats. Right at the front of the second row.
Yeah.
Of block,
second block, right,
about halfway back, right in the middle of the screen.
Yeah,
no seats in front of
it. It went nice and dark. It didn't have a lot of runway lights like a lot of the new theatres. So when it went dark, you could just see the screen and really engage in the movie. I liked it.
Yeah, it was good.
And then we're here in the famous Cozy Soup and Burger place, which was it appeared apparently in both the movies Rush Hour and Adam Sandler's
and X-Men 3.
Big Daddy and X-Men 3.
This is an X-Men 3 apparently. I don't remember that scene in X-Men 3, but there's a lot about X-Men 3 I don't remember, if I'm honest.
Yeah, although weirdly I remember liking X-Men 3, whereas other people did. What I do like is there is a framed picture of both Alf and Emilio Estevez and Telly Savalas on the wall.
So we've eaten in the same restaurant, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the same restaurant as Alf, Telly Savalas, and who was that?
Emilio Estevez.
The three giants.
Who loves you, baby? Alf, clearly.
Alf.
And what was the movie we saw?
We just went to see 3 Days to Kill.
3 Days to Kill.
With Kevin Costner.
With Kevin Costner, Amber Heard, Connie Nielsen, and Haley from the Coen Brothers remake of True Grit. Haley.
Oh, that was her?
Yeah.
I don't know. Mind you, I never saw True Grit.
Right. Anyway, her, the younger one of the two women, I think.
I just assumed it was Kevin Costner and some people.
Yeah, Kevin Costner and
some Luc Besson. You are America in Paris. You are like to be in my movie.
Yeah,
these are the people I thought the best on the cast.
I mean, basically, Costner has been given the Neeson treatment. He's been well and truly Neeson, is what
he has, but in a sort of. Well, I guess we'll get to that.
I like to think of him as Neeson, weirdly enough, via Danny Glover. I don't know why, but like the old stumbly. Coughing
yes, he's very
gave
much.
Me Glover.
Yeah, I liked. That was the. Okay, should we
before we go into it, I want to say, so it was sold to us as a lot of, let's be fair, Luc Besson Europa Core Productions, which is his company, which has been churning these out. I mean, Taken and the Transporter series are probably the most famous.
Yeah, but there's also the Guy Pearce one. Should have been so much better than it was.
Right, there's Lockout. You mean?
Lockout.
There's Lockout. There's from Russia with from Paris with Love, which had Travolta.
But also, it might have been good, but then you found out who else was in it. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is in it. I won't be seeing that then. Why would you put someone in a film that that would make everybody go, oh, well, I'm not going to see that then.
Rhys Meyers, who's so downhill now that he's actually playing Dracula in a TV series. That's how bad his career
Which is going to make it to like halfway through the second episode before it gets cancelled.
Of course, because he's going to like be doe-eyed and pouty and go around looking bland, and everyone's going to fall asleep.
Actually, it's quite interesting.
No, it's not.
It's not interesting.
So he did that. He did Transporter series. He did Kiss of the Dragon, the Jet Li, Bridget Fonda one, which wasn't bad.
I feel like he did one after Taken 2, but before this one.
Probably. But anyway, he's done a whole thing, and
it's a reasonably successul formula.
it is. Well, no. What he's basically been doing is he's basically been doing 80s action movies.
But mate, he's doing what the French did in the 60s. They remade a load of 40s American films, but in France.
But he's the only one who's been making like in this lull between basically between Schwarzenegger going away and becoming governor, and then the 10 years later where they've all come back. In that lull of sort of big pecs action movies,
he's been doing well-written, fast-paced
He's been doing the 90-minute.
But the thing he's been doing is he's been dropping character actors into the lead roles.
Right, yeah. Except maybe Statham, who he went out of his way to make an action star.
Yeah, that's true, Statham. But I guess Neeson and Pierce and Travolta.
But what has been interesting about Taken, and in fact is interesting about this one, is it's basically Leon. Which was obviously Besson's big hit. Hang on.
Okay.
Mixed with Taken. It's basically the idea of the older character actor with the younger girl, and instead of it being just a little girl like Natalie Portman who wants to be a hit woman, it's now his daughter. And what's interesting is, as he's made the daughter the second half of his double act in his films, it's become more and more sentimental, dramatic, and sort of less and less just about the action.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably... I think for whatever reason, with this one, maybe to get Costa on board, like they had to make it a bit... We should probably talk about what it is.
Started off with the plot. Yeah.
So the plot's pretty simple, which is... aging CIA agent Kevin Costner, cleaner hitman, assassin might be a better way of doing it. He's a CIA assassin, and after one really big job goes bad, he finds out that he has
brain cancer,
and
he's moved to his lungs,
and he's got 3 months to live.
It's moved to his lungs.
So he finds out he's got 3 months to live. He goes back home to reconnect with his daughter,
which happens to be in Paris.
Where
Connie Nielsen is living for no explained reason, for no explanation. With no explanation. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
That's what I was looking for.
You're welcome.
Oh yes, I didn't introduce you either. Anyway, doesn't matter.
So I'm here. I'm the other. There's the sounds of a diner and there's another Englishman.
Right.
I guess it could be the dog.
Yeah, it's Jim Wallace.
But it's not. So yes, he goes back to Paris to reconnect with his daughter, and while he's there, the woman who was running the operation that went bad turns up and says, we didn't get our man, I need you to get him because you're the only one that saw his face, and to give you a little bit of incentive. Yeah. I have this experimental drug that which will give you, you'll be able to live, basically, or at least
for more time.
For more time, right. Yeah. And then that's like the setup, and then the movie plays out as basically...
Let's try not to spoil it, though, because obviously it's a new movie.
No. What I'm saying is the way the movie plays out is he goes about his usual job, i.e., cleaning and trying to find this guy.
And there's a little bit of a detective thing going on.
Right. But it's the main selling point of it is that because at the same time he's trying to reconnect with his daughter and therefore kind of be a bit more human, he's going about the way that he's doing it in a very different way. Right. And he's actually, instead of like torturing people and murdering them, he's sort of connecting with them in a weird way. Right. And it's kind of funny. And there's a scene in the trailer. Yeah. It's I would say this, right? My overall thing of the film is I really, really enjoyed it, and one of the reasons I liked it was really funny. Like, I laughed 4 or 5 times out loud.
Right.
And like, I love the, we don't see, because no, it wouldn't ruin the joke. It wouldn't ruin the joke. The Muslim guy getting out of his car after the music, and then him like singing along with the music. He's like walking through the garage going, well,
he was amazing.
He was terrific.
He was incredible.
Yeah. He was terrific.
I don't know if he was, he was probably Egyptian or something. I don't know what
he's probably known best. He probably went to Egypt and who is your best character actor?
But he was amazing.
He was great.
And he was really, like, comic timing up the wazoo.
Yeah, the Italian guy was great too.
The Italian guy was really good. He said, no.
I am going home to live with Mama. It was so it's
really funny. What we did, the subtitle of this show, which I was going to say earlier, should really be McG makes good movies. Shocker.
Yeah, that was the thing.
I had no idea.
There was this amazing moment, right? So it starts off with this really terrific action scene, right?
Great.
It drops you right in it, and it's like this bit. It's funny. Costa's like moving through. He's like coughing and sick with his. Costa's amazing. He's coughing. He looks sick. And he's got this scarf around, and he just looks great. But he's totally pulling it off.
Yeah,
totally pulling off the like aging, mean, but kind of like sardonic.
But still has the skills.
Yeah, but he's totally pulling off like this sardonic thing.
Yeah, shambling.
And it's an amazing action sequence. And there's that great thing with with sounds and noises, where there's whole sequences where it's like bullets hitting the window, people hitting the floor, like snaps of sound that go up to make this like.
Not a lot of music.
Yeah, no music. It's all about like the beats of the action and
not a lot of shaky cam.
No, true.
Not a lot.
And it's really well set up.
Yeah.
So like, and it sets it all up, and there's Costa in a cab, like looking all moody while this moody song plays after he finds out he's got cancer, after this amazing accident. And me and Costa look at each other and go, this is great. It's a terrific opening to a movie. We're totally digging Costa. We're going to love this. And then on the screen it says, directed by McG. Yeah. And me and Costa look at each other and go, what is that? Have we just been? I feel like I've been tricked.
I know, totally duped.
I was like, oh no, we're going to hate this.
Yeah.
And then, I will admit, for the next 20 minutes I was going, I really want to like this, but the word McG is burned into my eyeballs
brain,
now.
What's incredible is normally, normally two things happen. Normally the trailer lets you know that it's from the maker of
right. But what are they going to say?
Charlie's Angels, Terminator Salvation,
a semi-hit that's 10 years old and a flop that killed the franchise. From the director of Batman and Robin and Flatliners.
You'd be surprised. You've been surprised that they have done that, but no.
I would say this is McG's Flatliners.
Why would you say that?
Because Joe Schumacher mostly makes fucking awful films, but Flatliners is a good one.
Oh, you like Flatliners?
Yeah, I like Flatliners.
Oh, okay, fine. Is
Flatliners not good?
No, Flatliners is absolutely fine. I was just wondering when you
I didn't like Flatliners as much as I like this one. I hasten to add.
Right, no, yeah, it was just a weird comparison. Anyway, but my point being is that normally they make note of it in the trailer.
Yeah, I was totally because I just sort of assumed it would be another mad Frenchman from Besson.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Olivia Megaton or one of those horrendous directors. And that was the other one they did. They did the Zoe Saldana one, Colombiana.
That's right, yeah.
That was the other Europa Core one, which was again a sort of Femme Nikita update. Which Saldana was pretty good in, actually. It just had that horrible Megaton greeny yellow wash over everything. And you're like, Megaton, could you just film it naturally? Yeah. Like, I don't need a greeny yellow wash. Funny enough, if you watch the Transporter series, the middle one, which I think the middle one is Megaton. Yeah. Or is the middle one Leterrier? Because I know Leterrier.
I don't remember the first one having any kind of washout.
No. Right, but the first one, the Transporter first one, is Leterrier does the dialogue, and Curien, the famous Hong Kong action director, did all the action stuff because Leterrier had never done action before. Right. And I have a feeling that the second one.
The second one is one I like the least, I think.
Yeah, and I've got a feeling that the second one is either Megaton or Leterrier by himself.
Right.
Either way, it's terrible. Anyway, Colombiana suffers from the same problem. Like, you kind of want to go up to Besson and go, why do you keep using these people? Because
Yeah,
neither Letterio or Megaton
like Lockout. The thing that puzzled me about Lockout was you've got an amazing setup. Like Besson clearly just sits, and I like the thing of Besson sitting in a restaurant, like, coming up with ideas. Awesome. Because the thing was, the great thing about this movie was it had all these like great ideas going on. Some of them it used when it suited them. Some of them like totally meant nothing. Like the drug he uses, if his heartbeat raises, he starts hallucinating. But like that doesn't happen. What actually happens is every time you're about to kill the guy you're supposed to kill, you're going to fall down.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there was like that really didn't lead anywhere particularly. But the idea of he's got to reconnect with his daughter. He's got like only a limit. He's only got like 3 days to find the guy and kill him while looking after his daughter.
Right.
And also he's aging and
sickly
and really sickly. And like not, it's just there's lots going on.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's a really, really great idea for a film.
It's utterly cliche riddled, but in a way which is kind of cozy.
Yes, exactly. And the other thing is because that beginning bit in the action of Costa in the hotel, where I totally bought his character.
Right.
And I guess that's just him being him. And sometimes you watch like people.
I mean, Costner in the last like 20 years, Costner's become amazing.
Yeah, clearly.
Thank you.
Wow, that looks great.
Really good, man. Thank you.
Smashing. Thank you very much. Terrific.
Oh, great fries.
Yeah. When your sandwich is amazing. I mean, that looks like a really. I just want to say that it looks like a really terrific sandwich.
Yeah. Well, they have their world famous.
I'm beginning to see why. I'm beginning to see why Alf and Emilio Estevez
call this place home.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that because I mean, you know, people remember Costner, I think, from like, you know, Wyatt Earp and the Untouchables and all those ways, a bit earnest and a bit annoying.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, he's got a bit of an edge to him. I loved it.
Yeah, and I felt like watching this one, especially that opening sequence where he's not really called upon to
That
do anything.
really sold it to us.
He's not like emoting or anything. He really is just walking around. But he's being. That opening bit and him doing what he did, it reminds me of why he was a star, like why he was as big as he was. Because he's not doing anything great. He's not like totally blowing him away or anything, but you totally and completely buy him as his character, whoever he turns out to be.
Right.
And it is a relatively interesting show. Although there's like a 15-minute period right towards the end where it lost me a bit, the movie.
Yeah.
But it, you know, and in fact, maybe I'd say the last 15-20 minutes of the film I didn't enjoy nearly as much as the rest of it. But in fact, I know at what point it stopped being interesting.
Right.
The second when he was, you know what? When he put on the suit, that's when it happened. As soon as he put the suit on,
When he stopped being wrinkled cowboy guy.
yeah. But as soon as he put the suit on, it looked more like a McG film. It started to look like a McG film and feel like a McG film. Whereas up to that point, I felt.
Amber Heard's character had McG written all over.
Oh, he did. Yeah, she did.
What if she struts around in a dominatrix outfit and a blonde wig? How does that sound? Besson is like, we like it. How about she hang out in Parisian nightclub with lesbians?
Who looks like every time her character turns up, it's like Kevin Costner has woken up in an expensive vodka advert.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? The lighting is very interesting.
But
Look at my crazy bitch.
to say this, I've only seen part of Charlie's Angels, the first one. And I think I watched it because of Bill Murray, but in that, what really annoyed was everything annoyed in that movie, absolutely everything, but predominantly the camera movements, the incredible overuse of like dance music, the crash zooms, the shaky cam, the slow-mo, the CGI, like all that stuff was over the top. And what was nice about this movie is, although while you're right, there were certain, you know, this looks like a perfume ad or a vodka
Which is
ad.
fun. I don't mind it because it's all part of the conceit. You know what
It's
I mean?
stylized.
Yeah,
it's totally stylized.
Which I don't mind.
And it's not, and it wasn't stylized in this movie to a point that made you annoyed or nauseous. But what I would say, and what was very pleasing, was that although the lighting and the settings were certainly Parisian and stylized, the camera movements were not insane for no reason.
No.
There was the fight out in the deli that was like a little bit more like frenetic.
Yeah.
But it needed to be, because see, the problem is when you get these old guys, in order to try and make Costner look even remotely competent, although he was really good in it.
He was terrific.
To do a more sort of frenetic fight sequence, but even that wasn't shaky to the max. Even that you understood what was kind of going on.
Actually, that felt more to me. The problem with that scene was editing. It felt like it kept cutting a split second before it should, and it kept coming back in. It felt to me like an experiment in filming an action scene that didn't really work. That's what it felt like. Whereas the other action scenes in it are fucking terrific, and they're all slightly different.
Right.
And they all follow conceits, and they're all really entertaining. And I'm sure a number of them. I mean, I do wonder how much of the film was Besson.
Right.
And going, you're going to have this in it. You're going to have.
Well, he wrote the screenplay and produced it.
Right. Yeah. I suppose so. Yeah. No.
He co-wrote the screenplay and he produces it, and I think that, you know, while he's obviously drawn to, just with the Terriers, McGee's and Megatons, he's obviously drawn to fancy, choppy editing, advert-style directors.
I think he's drawn to like stylized directors. He wants to give a stylized director who's obsessed with style.
Because Besson is. If you've seen any of like Besson's like solo directed stuff, his stuff is quite stylized and quite.
But I'm wondering whether this transporter thing, the action sequence, is directed by somebody else. I wonder if that's the case here. Because the action sequences were like put together in a way that was.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I doubt.
Displayed a competence.
There wasn't enough kung fu in this for it to have been a Korean or an equivalent of.
Right.
You know, the whole point of the transporters, there's incredible fight scenes. I mean, especially the one in the first one, where he kicks down the door and then he goes throughout the house doing various fights with like axes and fire extinguishers and whatever. There's nothing that compares to that in this.
No.
This is exactly like if Costner suddenly like pulled some Jet Li stuff, you'd be like, what's going on? This is far more Taken-esque in terms of a lot of gunplay and the occasional like kick, arm break. Stuff that you would imagine Costner to be capable of.
Right.
And, like, at no point is Costner like flying through the air or like doing mad shit. He's just he's just being a guy who's clearly had 30 years in the CIA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being a hitman. No, and Amber Heard is there to play up to the lipstick lesbian Parisian set. One would imagine.
I think the thing that bothered me so
she's
much.
awful as well. She's such a bad actress.
Yeah, she is terrible.
Everything she
She is terrible. That's true. But
that's why she's relegated. She went from being like, oh, Amber Heard could be the next big thing, blah blah blah, action chick, blah, blah, all the rest. And she's basically over the last 3 films been relegated to like third fiddle in a Luc Besson B movie.
Yeah, and that's where she could. Well, she was fine because she was. It was so stylized. She fitted in just fine. But anyway, the thing I wanted to say about the suit,
it's entirely where she belongs.
The reason why it bothered me, because he doesn't. It's not like a stylized rumpus. He really does dress like a middle-aged dad,
right?
Only with this quite cool scarf all the time. And everyone keeps talking to me like, you need to dress smart, you need to dress smart. And what's quite cool is he keeps waking up in these vodka adverts. And his attitude is of a man, like a rumpled middle-aged man. He's a bit tired, a bit pissed off. He doesn't really have an awful lot of time or respect for all this bullshit that she thinks is like really clever and really cool, obviously, because otherwise she wouldn't be wandering around dressed like that or in these places. But he doesn't really give a shit, which is quite cool. And then as soon as he wears the suit, and there were. I mean, I don't want to get stuck in it because I really enjoyed it. And even in the end, it wasn't bad. It wasn't like it didn't pull the rug out from under you.
No.
It did everything you expected it to do. But it was just a bit of, I don't know, like a bit...
But the suit was more... he couldn't have shown up to that final sequence at the party. And
but the final sequence didn't need to be at the party.
Well, it did. For the very obvious, we saw it coming a mile away twist.
Yeah, but it wasn't... But then, that's what I mean. It's like they shied away from the twist as well. You know?
No, true. But what I mean is, you have to have...
Which is fine. I don't mind that, but there's no reason for it.
No, it has to have a climax.
I agree, but given the action sequences you've already had, right?
I have a
Yeah, by all means. Why would you... Like, the reason for the climax to be where it is, and in the form that it takes, is it is, like, signposted a mile away.
Right.
But then they kind of pull back from it a little bit.
Right.
And the conflicts that it would bring up, if it was like that, don't exist. And even, like, the semi-conflict that happens, right? That is totally
between
not
him and the
addressed.
wife, you mean?
No, well, no, not... Well, yeah, that's dropped for a start. There's a whole thing of, like, as soon as she finds out he's back in the job, oh, is he in trouble? And that doesn't really happen. Again, there's a point in the movie, right, where I think, given the conventions that it followed, it demanded that he lose everything, right, and then win it back. Like, that's what should have happened. He's having got in with the wife, back with his wife, having got back in with his daughter, and everything being fine, he's then supposed to lose everything when they find out that he's still working for the CIA. And then it's manufactured in such a way that unless he is his badass CIA self, he can't save their lives and whatever a problem
had
is.
they been kidnapped
By the boyfriend's father.
well, whatever, but had they been kidnapped and put in peril after...
Well, my point is, if the boyfriend's father had kidnapped them, then the peril would be their own fault.
Right.
Not his, and he would come and save them.
You're right.
And then win back their respect. It'd be a kick-ass. Instead, it's like they got to that point, like, well, should we do this? And Costner and McGee went, I don't know. I think it's better if it's nice. You know, what if it's her prom night and really, and it's like he doesn't prove enough. You know what I mean? Because he leaves them behind to do. I mean, he does learn a lot, and clearly he does change as a human being.
Also,
over the
he
course of
doesn't...
3
I
days.
kept thinking, because we kept cutting back... This is spoiling the ending, I can't really talk about it, but I thought he was going to save the daughter. I'm just going to leave it like that.
No.
From what happens.
I thought a number of things. I thought, one, the drug was going to be phony.
Yeah, I thought the drug was actually going to be killing him quicker rather
Right.
Right.
I thought, two, he was going to lose the wife and daughter and then have to win them back through a display of extreme badassery, like the likes of which we hadn't yet seen in the movie. It probably involved them being at the top of a very tall building and Costa being at the bottom with nothing more than a bottle opener and a flip-flop.
Right.
That would
That would have been amazing.
right.
Right now, that would have been amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And instead, it's like they make him work really hard to be happy, but not that hard. And then it's more
He
like
teaches her to ride a bike
it's more like one of those. It turns into one of
in the
those.
afternoon.
The moment the movie actually lost me was when he taught her to dance. Okay. He's already taught her to ride a bike. We don't need another scene.
Right.
And she's like, I can't dance either. I also can't tie my shoelaces. I can't add 2 + 2. I can't. It's like, and whatever you got from the scene, which was a very sweet scene.
Right.
I really liked that. And even though it was cheesy as all hell, I did like it. It was nice and cosy. But the dance thing was like one or the other.
Right.
Right.
You know, I have to say
This is just stealing my screen time away.
that although it was a good film, it's a 2.5, 3 out of 5 at best. It's not a 5 out of 5. It's not a home run. It's not an out of the park.
No, and that's because I would say this. That's entirely because of the way they chose to end it.
Right.
If they tied it up in a way that, like, if you're going to go,
And also, I felt like
there's no point in doing a cliche.
I think you enjoyed it far more than I did. There was parts where I was like, I need more action than this.
It did get pretty strong.
I understand why they went the way they did, and it was funny enough that it kept me watching.
Right.
But considering how enjoyable it was with him being kick-ass, I could have done with a lot more.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, the ending, he didn't... First of all, it was fucking dangerous. He was firing a gun. But at no point did he get taken to task for... By the way, this is... You can't have the wife say, we don't really want you back in the game because you just put us in danger. And Costa goes, and then starts a gunfight at her daughter's prom. Like, see? And he's like firing into the crowd. And yeah, all right, I like the fact that every time he shot, he took someone down. That was very fucking cool. But you can't do that because he doesn't get to lie to them.
Right.
He doesn't get to come back into their lives, right, and gain their trust again, and then completely lie to them, put their lives in enormous amounts of danger. Because as far as they're concerned, turn her like final prom into a fucking like death march, the likes of which, psychologically speaking, it would take some time
Well, also
to
that
recover
didn't make
from.
any sense because that
And then
wasn't
going-
the prom. That was the pre-prom party.
Oh, it was the pre-prom party.
So she didn't even go to prom, or what? And why were they doing? Why was the daughter and the son doing what they were doing before the prom, or was it the post-prom party? I have no idea.
I think that what was going on with the son and the daughter in the soundproof room was designed to be a build-up to one joke, which was the sound of the elevator hitting was what was like made the building shake when they kissed. But they didn't really address that joke. In no way
Right.
was it worth the setup for that.
No. You're right.
Because he take well, the great thing about that scene is he takes her into this room, right, that's soundproof, without any windows, with a really weird orange square couch in the middle and nothing else. She goes, "Oh wow, what a great place!" As opposed to, "So are you going to murder me now or
Right,
later?"
well, yeah, or
in
you
this
rape me or
soundproof,
whatever,
you know what I mean? Psycho's room, and are these all mirrors with like fat crazy people sitting behind?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, rubbing their cigars. Like it was very strange.
That's a hideous image, but
It
well
was.
done.
I'm sorry about that. But it's just like up to that point, it followed all the rules, and then of an action
You're right.
film.
No,
While at the same time having an awful lot of fun with his central conceit. He's got a limited amount of time to kick, beat, and threaten his way around Paris to find this elusive guy that nobody has ever found.
Right.
While at the same time not losing his humanity.
Yeah.
And staying
Someone
keeping in touch with his daughter.
someone that no one's been able to find, despite him being right there.
Right.
And
But
very
it's still
easy to
a
find.
very interesting conceit in
Right.
that, where you've got something that an action hero has to do, a limited amount of time to find the guy that he has to kill, right?
Right.
But at the same time, you throw in this daughter angle and family angle,
Sure.
which means it's not just comedy. Whoa, my daughter's phoning at a crazy time, but that the way he deals with things is different now. He talks to them and finds things out, and he discovers things about how to be a dad and how to be a human being and all that. And it's kind of a fun idea, and there is lots of comedy enough and well done enough
Yeah.
that it totally makes you buy it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But then at the point where in the action film he has to lose everything in order
Yeah. Narratively, it doesn't hold up particularly
to win
strong.
everything back.
Right.
It just leaves you in this kind of like
You're right.
cozy place where
Very cozy film. It's a
Costner
very
hasn't really
cozy
done
film.
anything to earn them back. Not really. He's only doing it to get this like experimental drug, which is fine, but like it's not enough. It's not enough that he wants to spend more time with it. You know what I mean? He has to earn it, and he's not made to earn it, and that's why it loses its way in that last 20 minutes because
Wait, but I think that
it's not heading towards anything. at
although
that point.
I don't want to get stuck on this point because I really don't think it's the point of the film. Although I completely understand where you're coming from. My slight counter argument to that is I can imagine Besson writing the script and it heading a certain way, and then him going, "We can't really do the kidnap wife and kid thing again, so let's try in some way." I think what they did was that they wrote the semi-twist, which isn't really a twist, but whatever. They wrote that as a way to kind of be like, this will hold the climax together, right? And then the whole thing where he quits, like properly quits, doesn't quit, like decides, you know what, I would rather just live the 3 months I've got left to live with my family and be honest than I would get this drug anymore and keep being in the employment kind of thing. That's meant to be his redemption, that right there. And although, hang on a second, although it doesn't work as strongly as your alternative.
But tell me why it doesn't work. Tell me why that climax doesn't work.
Well, because it's his own personal redemption. It's not in front of the wife. And
No,
kid.
I'm not talking about
Plus,
that. I'm
the
talking
kid is still upstairs doing whatever. She's
What does
doing
he
with
do in the film? What does he do to earn that redemption? What does he do? Or rather, what does he not do?
Kills everyone but that guy.
Right. So the guy that's actually evil, that's plotting terrorist bombs, has probably killed thousands of people. He lives. But some poor bodyguard bloke who just needs the money and is just putting his cat through school.
Sure.
He gets a bullet in the head.
What I'm trying to say is that they stuck to that angle, that storyline, that personal journey he had to go on. Yes, to the detriment, but also because they probably at some point thought it was slightly more interesting than just kidnapping the daughter.
But then
and
you can't do it with her there. they've already done a scene where she shows she doesn't give a shit about anything. So as soon as he goes, I can't do it, it's not like, well, the guy's still going to die because she's standing there with a gun. So just because you're not going to do it makes absolutely no odds.
It makes odds to him. That's the whole point.
Yes, I suppose so.
Because he's meant to look in the eyes of his daughter and say, I'm honestly out of it now.
After I killed a whole bunch of people.
It doesn't matter. The guy said you had to draw a line. That's what the dad said. The other guy, the Egyptian guy, said you had to draw a line. And that was him drawing his line. Now, okay, it's not particularly strong.
All right, no.
But I'm saying that...
No, fair enough.
Emotionally speaking, he was there on the floor in need of his medicine. And he chose... It's not so much that he chose not to kill that guy, because he knew that guy was going to die anyway. If nothing else, he was probably internally bleeding and God knows what. Right? We're totally spoiling the end of the movie. Anyway, we spoiled the end of the movie.
This is a long spoiler. I'm really sorry.
Doesn't really matter. No, you're right. To discuss it, we have to spoil the movie. But whatever. I don't think people are following us now at all, because we haven't even explained really what we're talking about. But what I'm saying is that I don't care. I really don't care. Go see the film. Go see the film, because it's a good 3 out of 5 cozy action film with a bit of drama, a bit of comedy.
What I'm
saying is, it gets to the end. The decision he makes is not so much about do I or don't I kill yet another guy, right, for this woman. Thank you. It's do I or don't I live? And do I or don't I live as an honest person or as a lie?
Well, this is making me want to watch the film again. Because honestly, I think the dancing scene did me out. I was like, that's too much.
Okay, and that's fair enough.
Thank you very much.
All I'm saying is I think that...
No, you make a very powerful argument.
The twist, the switcheroo is not, oh, the big bad villain happens to show up at the daughter's party, because we really guessed that. The big twist is the movie you're watching is not an action movie. The movie you're watching is all about a father trying to reconnect with his daughter.
Yeah, maybe that's... Yeah.
And the decisions he's making in the course of that, right? And look, it has its cake and eats it, because he gets his journey while at the same time
killing a whole bunch of people
for our own enjoyment, right? So it gets its action climax while at the same time, like, where you would have a problem and where you would be a better screenwriter of something like this, would that you would have the action climax benefit the journey he was on all the time.
Right.
In this one, he's on this journey, and the choice he makes right at the very end is part of his journey. But the action climax really has nothing to do with his journey.
I do see your point. I do see the point that if ultimately it's supposed to be a story about he doesn't want to be in the game, he has to get out of the game, he can't be a liar to his wife and daughter, and then he does have to make a decision, however irrelevant. He has to make a decision that says, look, I'm not somebody's puppet. I do make my own decisions.
Right.
I'm not going to follow through with
by
the
the
job,
way,
whatever the thing I mean.
The Christmas present that he gets at the end, and we don't have to reveal it, but the Christmas present that he gets at the end is meant to be her saying, don't worry about it, you can have it anyway. It's not meant to be her luring him back in. You can read it both ways. It could be her luring him back in.
I just think...
But it could also be... In fact, I think the shot of her on the hillside is meant to implicate, I could be luring him back in. But I also think that it's kind of a sweet gesture on her part.
I agree.
I think it's meant to be, I understand you drew that line. I understand the choice you've made. I can't let you die because you've made this choice to be with your family against being in the job. So here's your Christmas present.
And I'm with you on that one. But again, I felt...
Because I think the movie's actually sweeter than the trailer ever let on.
I agree. I agree. I think it's the tone of it is key, and I think you're right. I think it's such a good way of thinking about it.
It's a middle-aged, sentimental kind of...
The twist is it's not an action film. It's like a family film.
Right.
Like a family action comedy.
Right.
But it's like really... But the action scenes are like kick-ass.
Right.
You know?
No, it's best
for example... For example, that thing you're just saying, I agree with you, and all that holds together perfectly well. But I don't think that the images, like, okay, first of all, it was only at that point right there I was going, does the fact that he, like, is overcome by the disease every time he gets near the guy he's supposed to kill. It's now getting a bit tiresome. Like the first 2 times it happened, it made sense.
Right.
But the last time, there's no reason for it to happen. And also it means that him choosing not to do it,
Well, no, what does
her
it make...
finishing the job, it happens right there. So it takes out a lot of the, like that whole thing of, oh, he's never going to get paid, because like they're together at the end kind of a thing. It's almost like, well, you know, you're sort of saying to her, internally I was anyway, like, what he basically had, like the guy's...
Well, he got a cheque for 150,000 in the middle of the movie.
No, he got the cheque because she was going to pay him 50,000 for every person he killed, and he wanted credit for the first 3.
Right.
That's why he got that cheque.
No, but I'm saying he got some money. And he already has a nice house by the sea.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm
And
saying
an
is,
amazing apartment in Paris. That apartment in Paris was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like when he woke up the next morning in Connie Nielsen's bed, and then you saw that the bedroom had like this rough-hewn stone wall and everything. You're like, that's insane. And then the daughter's bedroom had like old brick and...
are we getting old?
No, it's just insanely beautiful.
That's what I'm saying. But when we watch it, actually, we're going, the brickwork is wonderful in the apartment.
No, but...
I agree with you. But that's part of the charm of the movie. It did look great. You did want it. It was very cosy.
It was a very cosy
I'm
action.
just saying there were a couple of things in it that, had they been done slightly differently...
Whereas Taken is like brutal and harsh and cold and violent.
This is almost like the anti-Taken.
This is like the cozy Taken.
It's like the cosy Taken, exactly. Yeah, that's an extremely good way of putting it. But like to get, because it, all right, I clearly had problems with the. It seems to me that I had problems with the end and you had problems with the middle, but I really enjoyed it up until the point where he started wearing a suit.
Right.
And I felt like its commitment to its strong central idea.
Right.
Of these two genres going side by side kind of fell away a little bit into this kind of middle ground. But there were some really awesome action bits in it. There were some really nice touches. The kid going, yeah, when he gets away.
I like the continuing bike gag.
The continuing bike gag, which totally shouldn't have worked, completely. Like, Besson does things that were like tired in 1985 in like American action films, and for some reason he completely makes them work again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he totally.
And I think that
really enjoy them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big like, you know, the whole daughter-father thing. There's a big like Last Boy Scout thing going on there with the Willis, Daniel Harris father-daughter thing that's in there, and or fucking Die Hard. He's like estranged from his wife and kids. Like, you know, it goes back to the very basic action movies. But what was interesting about this film? And the reason why you would have a problem with it, or why an action fan would have a problem with it, is because you have certain expectations. Right. And I'm saying that while Besson recognizes he has to have certain things in the film in order to sell it, I don't think that's the story he's telling.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I'm more than happy. What's going on?
Did something erupt? There seems to be a volcano erupting on the news, and everyone's watching it.
Are you going to go find out?
Yeah. Where's that erupting?
No, it can't be that important because it can't be that. Well, thank you very much. It can't be that important because on CNN, I've just seen on the other screen, on CNN, it says Ted Nugent, a changed man. So I'm just thinking it can't be that important.
Fair enough. Sorry. Go back to.
No, that's okay. There was a thing where like everyone in the diner was standing around looking. It was like a scene out of Independence Day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We were going, "Hey, jive talking" in the diner, and then you turn around and everybody stops. And the clinking in the diner, and everyone's looking up at the TV.
And there's a massive eruption. Yeah.
But that's not. Yeah, it's fine. But I think you're right, and I think if it had been marketed in a different way, it does that thing that when we were kids, a lot of films suffered from that we really liked.
Right.
Like a lot of films that weren't marketed to us,
right?
Because we weren't really the core audience. Things like Real Men, for example.
Sure.
That were huge flops because I'm guessing they marketed it as like a straight ahead action comedy, like Beverly Hills Cop or whatever, instead of like the incredibly weird, crazy, movie that it was. That if you watch it not knowing what you're going to expect, is amazing. But if you went in there thinking you were going to get like a Beverly Hills Cop or whatever, but with Jim Belushi, you'd be like, what the fuck is this? Like,
Well, you wouldn't watch it because if someone said Beverly Hills Cop with Jim Belushi, you'd go, really?
yeah. But you'd be like, as in an action comedy anyway.
Sure. As in
So-
like a canine.
Right.
Right.
But as it, you know, but in and we a lot of the films that we liked when we were kids and we liked when we were growing up were flops. Like I bet The Burbs was, you know, like a
Yeah, The Burbs wasn't.
Yeah, The Burbs was flop because I bet that was marketed as a jolly comedy.
Right.
Ho ho ho! Tom Hanks and his crazy neighbours instead of like the dark, weird, paranoid, you know, trip that it was. And I feel like this movie suffers from the same thing. They marketed it in a way that they felt would make them the most money, and I bet it probably did make its budget back and opening weekend.
No, he never, like, I don't imagine Besson makes movies that lose money. I
can see that. I can imagine Lockout lost.
Maybe Lockout, but I mean, I imagine that he has a certain budget, like, because this is the other thing. No one in Hollywood is making the 10 to 30 mil movies at all. But Besson is. I imagine they don't spend any more than maybe 15, 20 mil on these movies, max. And I imagine he has a deal with the city of Paris where, as long as he shows the Eiffel Tower twinkling every 5 minutes, that he can like race cars.
Yeah,
back
he can burn
inside
the rest of it to the ground, as long as the Eiffel Tower is still standing.
Right. You know, and there's also a great deal of things that can be done now with CGI, where it's not obvious CGI, meaning the destruction of things.
Right.
Where I imagine the car going over the bridge, the car on the ground was a real car, and the car up on the bridge was a real car, but the smashing through the bridge thing was probably done CGI.
The big stunt that would probably take you like a whole day and a lot of money and some fine timing.
Yeah.
You don't need to bother with.
Right, you can just CGI and whatever.
Right.
And I imagine that hotel, considering it looked like it was in the middle of nowhere, was probably set for demolition anyway, and they just filmed the hotel blowing up at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because it did look like a hotel, like, stuck in the 1970s.
Yes, it did, didn't it?
Yeah. It was a particularly, like, scuzzy looking... I mean...
Probably
they filmed
in Bulgaria.
it very cool. Yeah. Probably.
It's probably like, you know, this is what you spoke at the Bulgarian Communist Party headquarters.
Sure. Something like that. I mean, that's exactly what it looked like. But that's what I'm saying, is if you make these movies for 10, 15 mil, like say what you like about Besson, he's doing the thing that I wish, like, the Hollywood studios were doing. Because I like the 10 to 15 mil movies.
Yeah, me too.
Like you say, I'm all for Costner being an aging action star like that. I was intrigued enough by that to go see the film, and on that basis, because Costner was so good in the film, it didn't let me down.
No, you know what? Yeah, I would go along with you. I mean, I liked.
It could have been. Don't get me wrong. As an action film, it could have been a lot better. Yeah. And as a sentimental drama, it could have been a lot
more sense.
It could have made a lot more sense. But he was doing something interesting, and he had the cast to pull it off.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of different styles and vibes and things going on. McGee did not overplay his hand. He got to do his little music video style editing in the dream flashback hallucination sections,
and any time they went,
which wasn't really overdone. It was absolutely fine.
It was what the scene called for,
of course, and they were good effects. I quite liked the way that the background seemed to be like sucking away.
I liked that with when he was reaching for the gun and the other guy came towards him. I really liked that what was happening.
But it wasn't overly done. It was just a little combination of CGI and rack focus put together quite nicely. It was done.
I can imagine that one of the reasons why it's as good as it is, at least in the way that you're saying, is that I can imagine Besson standing behind McGee going, no.
Right.
No.
Well, not
yes. No.
Not only that, but I think Charlie's Angels and what I've seen of Terminator Salvation, I haven't seen the whole thing, but the trailer and clips that I've seen, is that he didn't have the money on this one to do big things. Like in Charlie's Angels, he flips over a Formula One car as two cameras, rack focus and do that like dolly pan thing.
Yeah.
Like it's completely overblown and ridiculous. And there's like on the Golden Gate Bridge, there are cars flying everywhere, and all the rest of it. He doesn't have the money to do that. Neither does he have the money to stage like a big robot war on a desolate moon planet with spaceships and whatever else that happens in the Terminator movie. So what I'm saying is, when you take away his toys, and he's got to be a little ingenious about it, he can point and shoot in quite a pleasing way, albeit occasionally looking like it. But to be fair, most movies these days have scenes in it when you're like, oh yeah, that looks like the latest Smirnoff ad or whatever.
No, that's true. And
Bond films have it.
I think the conceit of restricting those scenes to the conceit of only being shot like that and looking like that whenever the Amber Heard character is on screen, that works fine. That works really well. If it's like, okay, well, every time this happens, you're making it look a certain way, that's fine. Especially since it's vaguely ridiculous anyway.
What was hilarious though is her introduction right at the beginning, because she is the opening thing of the film.
Yeah.
Is she's presented as this sort of dowdy, mousy haired, no makeup, plain like cream sweater tucked into like work pants type thing.
Right.
In what's meant to be Langley. So she looks all like plain and dowdy and monochrome. And then suddenly she shows up in Paris. She looks like she just stepped out of Jean-Paul Gaultier's fucking salon.
That was a slight problem.
Sorry, Chief.
That's all right, man. That was a slight problem with me as well in the opening bit, where there's like the two serious and goes, "We've got a big problem. There's a dangerous man, and we need him captured. And we're sending like a team in to take care of this, and we're sending another team in to take care of that. You have to take out the big guy." And the bloke who's is in charge, sitting there, at no point says, "Why are we talking to her? She looks like a bad actress."
Yeah.
Which is exactly like, she looks like a 23-year-old actress who's out of her depth, right? As opposed to, this is our top agent. This is your top agent. And her experience is what?
Yeah.
Walking down this corridor?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? When did you hire her? Last week? Do you know what I mean? Has she even unpacked her pens and pencils yet? You know what I mean? What are we doing sending her?
You're right.
Which is fine. I mean, I get it, but
she's a tactical
but
genius.
Yeah, that's the
based
point.
on what?
But that's the point. You want her to look like a fucking crazy vamp, because you're going, what? She's got the balls to walk in, the confidence to walk in, looking like an extra from a Smirnoff ad with a crazy wig.
I mean,
on.
I wanted it to end with the CIA firing her because she'd clearly gone to Paris and blown all of her departmental budget on fucking masks, wigs, red lighting, and lesbians. Sorry, dude. Oh, sorry, dude.
All right, I'm sorry, I was drinking coffee and I very nearly screwed that up everywhere.
But she did! Because they must
How much on leather?
They must have looked at her and gone, this one won't spend anything at all. This one will probably get a holiday inn. And and instead she rents out some louche dance club full of red velvet and lesbians.
Because she's like, oh, we're somewhere safe. It's like the CIA safe houses. What about the tropical fish tank?
Yeah.
Why is the? Do you know what I mean? Who designs the CIA safe houses? We don't have enough black velvet, and where are the tropical fish?
Yeah. She clearly marched in there with like HDTV and went, oh yeah, put in a fish tank, put in some. How's it a safe house? We have cushions. Yeah, there's plenty of cushions.
Where's the stage?
We need stage, we need dry ice, and I need 2 lesbians.
I also need a double bed that's the size of the room.
Yeah, and
covered in different coloured cushions.
And a bodyguard, despite me apparently being a kick-ass chick.
Yeah, that was weird. That was, again, there was too many bits of going, oh, this would be funny again.
Yeah.
No.
Well, they probably looked at, there should have been a scene right at the very end. In fact, we didn't stay to the end of the credits, there might have been. But it should have been that old white-haired dude from the beginning of the movie, looking at the receipts going, space-age car? You bought a space-age car? And like tore up Parisian streets with it?
What was the purpose in that? And well, you couldn't have paid cost of a consultancy fee to sit in a car and point at somebody? Go, that guy. Why did you need to hire him?
Wigs? Max Factor lipstick? $185.
Wigs. Page 1 of 5.
What is this on the charge request that says nipple tassels? Why is there? And how many masks did you buy?
How many lesbians? Oh my god,
that's good. And you went through how many suits? That was insane.
Oh dear.
So sorry, I almost made you choke, man.
No, that was fine. That was great.
But that's true. There should have been a scene at the end with that old white-haired dude just being like,
reading the bill.
I thought we sent a dowdy 20-year-old who was just going to sit there and like be in awe of Costner. Instead, wait a minute. How many dominatrix outfits?
Oh dear. Yeah.
Like clearly Amber Heard, because I mean I've only seen her in
The John Carpenter one.
Drive Angry. Oh, that is poor. The Ward.
Yeah, that was poor.
That was
I was
poor.
so hoping that would be good.
That was so.
He's
poor.
still obviously got like I don't get what happened to Carpenter exactly because in the Mouth of Madness shows he can still make a kick-ass movie.
Oh no! Most of the movies are fine. It's just what ended up happening was people started to remake his movies. He started to make lots of cash, and he went. So I don't have to try. That's exactly what happened.
I don't know. I think
No, that's exactly like whenever you hear him interviewed about the remakes, he's like, "I'm making lots of money. I don't care."
and that's fine. I've got no problem with that. Like if you create
I have a little bit of a
something-
problem.
No, I don't because if he's made something really good and someone wants to come along and remake it, it's like well, all they're really doing is extra royalties for your work, and like I've got no problem with that because they're really good films and he made them for beans. And if 20 years later someone was to come up to him and say, you know that film you made for a packet of beans and half a cigarette in an abandoned police station when you wanted to, and it was so good, we're going to remake it for a shitload of money. And by the way, here's a house and Amber Heard spare wigs or whatever. Believe me, sell those on eBay and you'll be a millionaire. But then that's okay. But it seems to me with not to go off topic here, but the problem with Carpenter, it seems, with The Ward, starring Amber Heard, who was in this movie,
Right.
and The Weaver, it's like there's a good film in there, but it just seems like
it felt really generic.
it did. But
Like Carpenter,
but he makes generic films. But he makes good decisions.
No.
When he's making
makes
them.
he makes genre films during a period of time where people weren't making those kinds of films, and he makes them in really interesting ways.
Yeah.
And The Ward was post already a ton of like haunted fucking hospital and haunted fucking.
Yes, go on. Then I will have a bit more.
You
Thank
can't
you.
after like The Grudge and
Thank you.
and Dark Water and all those movies make another woman with lank hair gets haunted by something
And also the whole.
pointless.
Well, actually, it was not
Right.
to spoil a film that you shouldn't see.
Right.
You shouldn't see it. But actually, she's all the characters in the movie. Which in that movie with Cusack in it or whatever was like, actually, that is a super cool twist. Well, not super cool, but a pretty good twist. I've
No.
never
The
seen
one
that
with
before.
Cusack works because it was really weird and wonderful and well done.
I'd like to see it again, knowing. I'd like to see it again, knowing it's all
Identity.
like a nightmare.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I think that would be super
Well, it is
cool.
because halfway through the movie, stuff starts happening that couldn't possibly. Be
Yeah,
happening.
yeah. That's why I want to go back and see it. Actually, I might try and watch that again.
Identities. I like it. I own it.
No, I really like it, but I think it would be one of those films that I really like to watch again because when you realise what's going on, I think it would make it much better. But anyway,
But no. But what I was going to say is, I've only seen, apart from that, I've seen her in like Drive Angry, and I remember when she was on Top Gear.
I'm angry. Was that Nicolas Cage?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I remember she was also on Top Gear.
Besson must have made a movie with Cage. That must have happened.
I don't think so.
How does
I
that
don't
not
think
happen?
so. It will happen. It will. It's just like Cusack and Cage were like Mr. Netflix for a long time.
Yeah.
They've now made a movie together, which will go straight to Netflix because it's bound to happen.
Didn't we nearly go and see that?
No, because I don't think it came out. It'll go straight to
No,
Netflix.
they were in one. They were in
Well, they were in
the one about the
Con
serial
Air.
killer. No, they were in the one about the
Together.
serial killer that we nearly went and saw. With Nick Cage.
Frozen
Nick
Ground?
Cage. Yeah. Nick Cage is the cop and Cusack is the killer.
We didn't.
No, we didn't. We didn't see it, but that was a while ago.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. I don't think it looked very good.
Frozen Ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really have to see it. Because Cage and Cusack are doing their made in Bulgaria movies right now.
Cusack should be in a Besson film. I think Cusack is like.
They should both be in a Besson movie. Yeah, Besson needs to make a movie with them. I mean, obviously they were both in Con Air together.
Yeah. But I think Cusack would do well
Back
for him.
when
And I
they
think.
But Cusack has to look older. Like, Cusack has to get to 60 before he can be in a Besson movie. Cusack still looks like 35. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true. Although when he ages, I don't think it's going to go well for him.
No. But Cage, he could be in a Besson movie. Except that Cage still...
Too crazy.
Yeah, well...
The whole point about Costner and Neeson, and Pierce to some extent, is the basis of their
But
character.
Cage
They're
could
quite
be like...
calm,
Except that
still presences.
Gary Oldman did a big crazy turn in Leon.
Yeah, but he was the big crazy. He wasn't the lead. John Renner was the lead, and you can't get much more. I'm a character actor who doesn't do much, but I'm incredibly magnetic than Renner.
John Renner, right, yeah. You're right.
That's how he does it.
But you could have... in which case you could have Cusack as the good guy and Cage as the
Yeah, I
bad guy.
agree. Yeah. Absolutely.
Cage hamming it up for all his work.
I mean, that's the big thing. That was always the big shame about Face Off was Cage should have been the bad guy, not the good guy.
But he gets to be the bad guy.
Yeah, but he's the bad guy at the beginning. But he's not the bad guy. Travolta ends up being the bad guy.
Right. Yeah, but I don't like Travolta, so that's fine by me.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Travolta should be the bland one, and Cage should be the one.
But what
having
I
all the
mean,
fun as the bad
who
guy.
else could you have as like now that he's done Neeson and now that he's done Costner? Who else from like 90s, 80s and 90s movies could he conceivably do that with?
There's plenty of aging character actors out there.
Do you think Tony Shalhoub will ever show up in a Besson movie?
No, he won't show up.
Tony Shalhoub.
Forget it. Shalhoub's got better things to do, like turn up as the comedy Iraqi dentist in the latest USA series. You know what I mean? Shalhoub belongs on the USA network forever.
Right.
Like, that's where Shalhoub lives.
Right.
Shalhoub might as well be the walking USA network.
You don't think Shalhoub could be
I'm
like...
quirky
He was
and not funny.
He's got to do like the shy retiring computer programmer who gets embroiled in a big like CIA twisty plot thing.
No, he's too... Don't even talk to me about it. I don't even want to imagine...
Well, Gary Oldman, he could bring Gary Oldman back now and have him as an agent.
No, Gary Oldman's got it made. Ever since fucking Batman Begins.
No, I know, but...
He's been cast like, we need Moody.
Yeah, but Neeson's all equally in Batman.
Yeah, but he didn't do any... There is
Keaton, Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton should be in a Luc Besson movie, yes.
Yes.
Agreed. As opposed to turning up as like 5-minute cameos as the bad guy.
In bullshit movies.
That is going to be a bullshit movie. But Keaton in a Besson movie, yes. Agreed. Would be really cool.
Yeah.
Keaton as a traffic cop whose cousin gets kidnapped by
Too many K's.
Venezuelans.
Yeah. Always the Venezuelans. But no, back to 3 Days to Kill. It was, it was fun. It was good. It was a, 3 out of 5. 2.5
I'd give it
5.
3.5 out of 5. I would say up until I wouldn't mind seeing it again after what you've told me about. I think I might enjoy because I was just the second scene of him teaching his daughter to do something.
Yeah,
like he did that thing where it throws you out of the movie.
Sure.
Like pisses you off.
I think that,
and I never got back into it after that. But I really enjoyed it. I really loved the action. There were loads of bits that properly made me laugh.
Yeah,
the thing of him getting out of the car, singing along to the Arab music, I thought was a really good joke.
Yeah, it was really good.
And it was full of stuff like that. So I would definitely give it a solid. I would have no trouble recommending it to everybody because I think you'll definitely enjoy it.
Right.
And Costner's, is really good.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I still give it a 3 out of 5 because there is stuff wrong with it. But I mean, most of that 3 out of 5 goes to Costner and the fact that McGee wasn't a complete and utter tosser.
No, I think it reminded me of. I've always loved.
And I would now rather a McGee movie than a Megaton movie.
Agree.
Unless they happen to be the same person.
Unless someone's
really.
giving him money.
Oh yeah, no, never give McGee money. Never give him money.
And always bring him onto your ideas. Don't let him have his own ideas.
No.
Never give McGee money if he comes to you with an idea.
Yeah.
Just say, no,
No.
McGee,
No.
but I have a bit of money and I've got an idea.
Yeah.
Perhaps you'd like to help me out.
Yes.
Then all right, we'll listen to McGee.
That I agree.
Yes. But
McGee,
no.
yeah. It's shocking how good this movie is when you take into
Honestly,
account
you should
it's a
see
McGee
the
film.
expression on our face when I said
No, I
directed by
felt
McGee.
like
You're
shit
like,
with you.
Oh no.
I felt like the first opening sequence was a a fluke, and I thought the rest of the movie was going to be crash, zoom, wham, bam, abyss.
And it wasn't. It was.
With lots of soft
I tell you what it
focus and
reminded me of. It reminded me because I've always been a sucker for the OC, right?
Ugh.
And but McGee directed a lot of the OC.
The OC
including
was
the Pirates.
terrible.
No, but hear me out here. Whether you like it or not, and I like it.
It was
right?
glossy wank.
Right. But this.
Sure.
Okay. I don't think we're under any illusions here of what you think. Right?
Okay.
So what I'm saying.
My show, I'll say what I like.
No, I know. But what I'm trying to say is that what I thought was good about this movie is also what I thought was good about the OC, which was he managed to make a cliche setup work because the people he hired to play the characters and the way the characters were played made it seem believable.
Gallagher could do one. Peter Gallagher.
Right. No. Not Gallagher.
If he played like a crooner who happened to be, I don't know, embroiled in some
That
sort
would be
of
quite a fun
Russian plot.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That would be more of a...
Crooner versus the Russians.
that would be a good film. I like that.
Yeah.
He's got 48 hours to record his album and kill some Russians.
Right, exactly. Crash, bang. Yeah, that was great.
New York!
Fly me to the moon and let me play. Yeah. Hey-ya! It'd be great.
Yeah,
I'd like it.
That I would go with. But anyway, that's what I liked about the film as well. It was a cliche setup. It was handled really nicely.
Yes.
I believed everybody in it.
Yeah.
So if you've got a cliche setup, but where the people involved you believe, it becomes instantly very cosy because you feel well taken care of, and that's how I felt in this movie. I would give it 3.5 out of 5. I'd have no hesitation recommending it because
I give it
there's 2 or 3 really cracking action sequences and 4 or 5 proper nice laughs.
I give it 2.75 out of 5, maybe 3 out of 5, but I give it. Costner makes it a 3 out of 5 for me, so that's fine. I can't go much higher.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
So that's how I feel about it, and
we're sorry if we spoiled the movie, but it's not really like that.
Yeah,
the narrative is like laid out from the very beginning.
You can still see it. We haven't spoiled a thing.
Yeah, we really haven't, and you really should see it because it is really enjoyable and very cosy.
And I wanted to talk about 2 bits of news before we wrap this up.
Oh, fine.
First of all, the very sad passing of Harold Ramis. Very sad.
Very sad.
Last night in fact, I watched Club Paradise,
which I've never seen,
with Peter O'Toole and who we also lost this year, of course, Peter O'Toole.
Oh yeah.
And Robin Williams and Twiggy and
go back one.
Robin Williams and Peter O'Toole in Club Paradise.
Oh, I think you're saying Robin Williams kicked the bucket.
No, Peter O'Toole kicked the bucket.
Yes, I know, but you said Peter O'Toole and Robin Williams. Wait a minute. Robin Williams is
Harold Ramis directed it. Right. And it has a lot of SCTV alums. Joe Flaherty's in it, Eugene Levy's in it, Rick Moranis is in it, and Harold Ramis directed it. And so I watched that. That's got some really great Peter O'Toole bits in it. Jimmy Cliff does all the music. So that's like an unsung Harold Ramis gem that I quite like. Funny enough, it's not as baggy or as slow-paced as some of Stripes. Like Stripes starts off really strong, and then slowly becomes a little bit saggy. Like when the super duper Winnebago thing, whatever it is, the sort of spy truck thing that they drive around in the end, when that shows up and Sean Young and PJ Souls are frolicking about, it sort of loses its way. Yeah. Kind of becomes a big saggy mess. Yeah. But I love the Police Academy bit. Yeah. The bit that's the Stripes Academy.
Well, it's a bit like in Police Academy where it's somebody they have to become policemen and then you get into dodgy.
Right. Yeah.
You know, up to that point.
Well, especially considering this is the army and they have to like wage war in a foreign country.
Like, take people's countries and kill them.
Right. So that, but I like Stripes. But my favourite, I like Club Paradise. What else do I like that Harold Ramis has done? I love Groundhog Day except for the casting of Andy McDowell. Yes. Anyone else in that movie and it becomes a 5 out of 5. McDowell knocks a point of it.
Oh, easy. easily at all.
Murray is amazing
Yeah, he is terrific.
in that movie.
It's still very good. I watched it during a very bad period last year. Like actually during a particularly bad couple of hours, like maybe two of the worst hours.
Thanks.
Two of the worst hours of last year, possibly of my life, in fact. And I couldn't do anything. I was in I won't go into too much detail, but I was at home in the flat,
Right.
and there wasn't anything I could do except wait to see,
Understood.
how things were going to play out.
Sure.
And when you can't do anything about something that's like ongoing and really bad, what are you going to do? And I put on Groundhog Day, and for those 2 hours, my intensely troubled mind and fear and panic and all the rest of it totally drifted away, and I was able to just see those 2 hours out. And I owe Ramis.
Yeah.
It's a really, despite Andy McDowell, it's a really well-made film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's, obviously terrific in it, but everyone's having such a ball, and they all know they're in a great film. They all know it's a great idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And everybody in it, even like the tiniest character, is having such a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's deep, so I'll just take it up.
But no, so very sad loss, Harold.
And of course,
year one, his last director movie was awful. There's not a laugh in the film.
Right.
And it does star Jack Black and Michael Cera. The year after Jack Black and Michael Cera became even remotely watchable.
What was his last thing though? I feel like he was in something.
No, he was in Knocked Up. He was in Walk Hard. He was in.
He was in Walked Hard. That was good.
He played the Jewish record producer.
That's right. Yeah.
And he played his father in Knocked Up.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know he'd been ill.
I didn't know.
What's really curious is that he's been ill for 4 years, which I had no idea about.
I had no clue.
And yet, it's only in the last 4 years that Aykroyd's been doing the talk show circuit, saying if it wasn't for Bill Murray holdout, we'd be doing Ghostbusters 3 tomorrow. But how could that be if Ramis has been ill?
Possibly. I don't know how it works, but it could be. It's from what I understand of his illness. It's very rare, and the course that it takes is extremely unpredictable. And if it's very rare and also unpredictable, then there's no way to know how it's going to go or what it's going to be. And it wouldn't surprise me if, especially since it's been a couple of years since he's had a hit or a project or whatever, that they might want to conceivably put something together that would, keep him occupied, give him something to, get up for and work for and strive for. Because from what I understand of it, it's so random that there is always something in giving people with that level of uncertainty something to aim for. So that would be my thinking.
No, it was just odd that then while he was saying that, no one said, "But isn't Harold ill? Like how you did?" Like no one. I don't know. I didn't even know it was a thing. So anyway, that was something that was odd, but clearly puts the kibosh on that then, because without Ramis and without Murray, how do you do it? I mean,
I think in Dan Aykroyd's mind there is a way.
Sure, Aykroyd would probably bring him back, like be hugely distasteful and bring him back as a ghost or something, or have him reincarnated as a 12-year-old child that played harmonica or something like that. Because Aykroyd does like to do that. But that's the first bit of news, and the other bit of news, which is good news, is that Piers Morgan's show has been cancelled.
Yes! Hurrah! Hurrah! Hurrah!
That's fantastic. So here's a
salute to the unemployment of Piers Morgan.
Yeah, that jowly
oily turd extraordinaire.
Yeah. Let's hope he gets sent back to England and imprisoned for tapping people's phones illegally.
I mean, no, you know what? I don't hate Morgan. I dislike him intensely. I only hate Rupert Murdoch. Okay. Rupert Murdoch is the only person on earth I hate.
Really?
Yeah.
So much more understanding than I.
Not when it comes to Rupert Murdoch.
What's weird is that the whole like gun debate thing, I agreed with Morgan, but still voraciously hated it.
Well, yeah, but he's the sort of, he was like, what was the, Arsenal fans used to hate Piers Morgan because it was like, you just make us, the rest of us, look bad, man.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think even people who wanted gun control were like, shut up.
Yeah.
You're just making us look bad.
Oh yeah, completely.
Made people think, wait a minute, is gun control a bad thing?
Yeah.
Like, Piers Morgan is on board. So we need to rethink our position.
Definitely. We need to now get Cal fired, and Beckham
Well,
needs
Cal's gone back to England.
and Beckham needs to never.
Cal's show's gone. He went back to England because
No,
they
I know.
cancelled the X Factor.
And Beckham needs to never ever do another H&M advert.
I fear you may. That just may not ever be.
Ugh.
It's a shame, but there it is.
Yeah.
But I would like to say, because we didn't really, other than Groundhog Day, we didn't really cover what a genius Ramis.
No,
And his part in
Meatballs,
in
and
Ghostbusters.
and,
You know, he was,
Animal House. He co-wrote that.
yeah. He was a big part of
Stripes.
some of the funniest films
Yeah.
in the 80s.
Club Paradise.
And a big part of, like, and certainly in terms of our upbringing, gave us as kids a lot to enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's a fine legacy for any human being.
Oh, of course. No, definitely. No, Ramis is in the upper echelons. He's the mild-mannered, but
Extremely talented, clearly.
mild-mannered, extremely talented, but like slyly subversive and sarcastic writer, who was, a great director and a fun actor to watch, but clearly a very gifted writer.
Yeah.
Because he has more writing credits than kind of.
I think that's the thing about Groundhog Day is when you do watch it again, you realise one of the reasons it's such a great film is that the conceit of the script is allowed to breathe fully. They don't try and.
But that
cover
wasn't
it
their
up.
script. The script came from this writer. The story of Groundhog Day is interesting. The original script was very, very serious. It was like a
French kind of existential.
It was a big existential, like 80-minute diatribe about what would happen if you spent like day after day after day and you couldn't kill yourself and blah blah blah. And Murray signed on for that, interestingly enough. Now it would obviously be years later before he did his Lost in Translation, Wes Anderson stuff, but he was signing on for that. And I think that I think you're right. What Ramis did was he was able to very intelligently keep as much of that in there as possible, because there's still the whole sequence where he's basically committing suicide over and over again, which is very dark for what is essentially a family comedy.
Right.
Ramis was, like you say, able to keep the conceit breathing and going. I think Murray brought a lot of the like one-liners to it with Ramis's help. And I think that's the success of the movie.
No, I just mean, given that his biggest success...
a bit of dollop of It's a Wonderful Life and all that.
Sure, but I guess what I'm saying is, given that's his biggest success as a director anyway, that the strength of Groundhog Day is very definitely script, whether it's by him or not.
No, you're right. It has a really good
his
idea.
respect for like the script and what it's doing, and the fact that he doesn't panic and try and rush it.
No.
Like a lot of directors would rushed it and made the whole Groundhog Day thing only last half a movie,
Right.
and then tried to turn it into something else where he had to like break out of the town to go and rescue Andy McDowell, or you know what I mean? Some bullshit thing.
Sure.
Like when the movies you go, yeah, the first half was really great, and they totally abandoned the conceit in order to follow some generic thing.
Right.
It totally sticks to it.
Yeah, I mean, the trouble is if either one of us ever finds ourselves in that situation, the fact that the way to get out of it is to have sex with Andy McDowell,
We'd have to think long and hard about
that, really.
Because you and I wouldn't be, we're like, so we just get to watch the same movie over and over again.
Well, no, you can watch a different movie every day.
Yeah, I'd be quite happy with it. But then Groundhog Day, we don't need a Groundhog Day, do we?
No.
We need the opposite of a Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Which is what has happened to us, essentially. We're getting the opposite. Like, life will not stay the same, even for a moment.
Yeah.
So don't get used to it, pal.
No, but can't underestimate Ramis's
Impact on us.
impact.
And
Impact on everything. I mean, you look at all the comedy today, almost all of it, except maybe auteur performers like Sandler and like Kevin Hart, people who are generating their own thing. But even they owe a slight debt to it. But ensemble comedy groups, the Judd Apatow group, the Will Ferrell group, and the crossovers that happen in between and so on. And even a lot of these like little indie comedies where there was an indie comedy called The Way, Way Back, which was about like a summer camp thing.
So, yeah.
And there was one recently called The To-Do List, which was about yes, it was about sex, but it was also like around about a swimming pool and stuff. A lot of those indie movies owe a debt to them as well. If you look at The State, the sketch comedy group, The State, with Ken Marino, David Wayne, stuff like that, they owe a lot. Like those early Murray Ramis collaborations and Ramis Aykroyd Murray collaborations are, they are templates. They're blueprints for everything we see today. In fact, the successful stuff that we see today.
I would agree.
And it's interesting how, and this might just be my age, it's interesting how few really live up to the success of those early 80s ones. And there are, so I think Anchorman, the first Anchorman, lives up to something like that. And very interesting that the way back one with had Steve Carell, but Sam Rockwell is a key character in that. And Rockwell is basically doing a cross between Murray in Meatballs and Chevy Chase in Fletch. Like that's exactly who he's channeling throughout the whole movie.
I want to see that.
Most of it is balls, but the bit with Rockwell channeling those people is like if they redo Fletch, it has to be Rockwell. Anyone else who isn't Rockwell,
I like that.
It's no good. Rockwell can do that quick, off the hand, not quite a joke, but it is a joke thing in his sleep, man. In his sleep. If they redo Fletch, or if they redo like those kind of comedy movies, and they don't use Rockwell, biggest mistake in the book. Seriously, once you see The Way Back, whatever it was called, I forget what it was.
Okay, I will.
But it owes a huge debt to Meatballs. It is the story of Meatballs. Like in Meatballs, Bill Murray, this like slacker camp counselor, doesn't really take anything seriously, develops the life of the little kid, and so the kid can be the hero at the end of the movie. And that's exactly what happens in this one. The rundown, beat up kid of a divorced family, madness, totally becomes like the hero of his own summer, thanks to the relaxed, slobby yet big-hearted summer camp guy.
Okay, well I'll give it a go. Thanks for the tip, man.
No worries.
Shall we?
But Ramis' legend lives on.
Yes. Agreed. Well, thank you very much for having me in the diner.
I've enjoyed it, sir, and probably quite a few weeks to come, as my living arrangement is going to be somewhat up in the air.
Yes.
This might be the quickest and easiest way to do a diner.
I agree. My apologies, listeners, because you might have to hear me going. The thing about the structure this week,
yes,
or
but I like
conceit was a popular word this week, I felt.
Yeah, well, no, because you're.
I will personally give every listener a banana
because you didn't like the last act of the movie because you were expecting something that the genre would normally deliver that this one didn't.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely fine as a commentary.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Anyway, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
No problem.
Oh, Luc Besson, you'd look better with the dress on. I really do get less done when on comes a film by Luc Besson. Oh, Luc Besson, I really must confess, chum, my life would be a mess, son, if there were no more films by Luc Besson.
There are men, and then there are second unit podcast men. The podcast you've just been listening to is part of the Second Unit Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at 2upn.blogspot.com or on Facebook under the Second Unit Podcast Network. Our fantastic list of shows include Drunk on VHS, We Came from the Basement, No Budget Nightmares, The After Movie Diner, Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid, and Bloodbaths and Boomsticks. Take one podcast into the shower. Don't be a blithering idiot, Alan. We can give you the multiple podcast cleansing system all in one place that your hair deserves. Our programming is available across all platforms from iTunes to Podomatic, TalkShoe to Stitcher, so you have absolutely no excuse. Listen today, and a free naked person of your choice will be shipped from Thailand to your door in a matter of weeks. The Second Unit Podcast Network, bringing you the action and leaving the boring stuff to the other guys. Bloody hell. Who does a girl have to blow around here to get a decent beverage?